Don't you just love sitting in like movie theater seats, getting that ass rash, and just imagining how many people have like dropped like actual farts on those seats? It's absolutely phenomenal, but you can't change the experience for anything. And it feels like it's been forever since we saw like an actual MCU film on the big screen. I'm very excited for Captain America, but in today's video, that's not what it's about. It's not about me being excited. It's essentially just me talking about how much pressure there is on really both cinematic universes, not only the MCU but also the DC cinematic universe. We do have a number of different projects in the works. We do have the Fantastic Four, the foreseeable future. We have, and then this year we have the Thunderbolts, as well as Captain America. And then on the DC side of things, we do have some smaller projects that just finished up, but you know, Superman being the biggest project from James Gunn so far. Now, what's interesting about the MCU, and I've talked about this in the past, a lot of people like to say, well, it's Disney, it's the Sony verse, or things of that nature. Here's the problem: hardcore people like us know the difference. I think there's a large percentage of the population that go watch movies that can't tell the difference. They can't differentiate between the Sonyverse and the Disney Marvel universe. And so a lot of the times, if Sony is struggling, it kind of has a domino effect onto the Disney MCU. And I think it's kind of an interesting back and forth. I'll give you guys some examples. I mean, Ant-Man actually did pretty well at the box office. It was able to, get, I think, about like a little bit over $400 million, which is kind of the budget with marketing included. But there are a lot of Sony films that I think kind of affected the MCU and had a little bit of a trickle effect. We did have like Madam Web, which, was an absolute bomb, only made about 100 million. You had Craven not too long ago, a few months ago, that only didn't even make back 100 million. I think it was at like 60 million. Morbius was really bad as well. People are just not going to watch these films. The last entry into the Venom universe also didn't do very well. And don't get me started on the Marvels film. Also, I think it wasn't even able to make its budget back. But I think both of these universes cross over in the sense that if one of them is struggling, I think the other one just kind of inherently also struggles. And that has a lot to do with the public's perception. Like if there's a particular film, if Madam Web comes out and just completely bombs, and there's another Marvel film right around the corner but is from Disney, I think most people can't really tell. Like, I genuinely have friends and family that have no idea that there's a Marvel Cinematic Universe brought to us by Disney. Like, they don't even know that Disney owns the Marvel franchise at this moment. But I do believe that this is a make it or break it type of situation for both franchises, not only the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the DC Cinematic Universe as well. They have had some, marginal success with some of the entries into their cinematic universe, but you had the Black Adam film barely hit about $200 million at the box office. Shazam 2 got absolutely crushed as well. The only film that had a decent amount of success was the newest Reeves Batman film, and for me personally, I think that film actually exceeded expectations. Let's not forget, this was in 2021. The pandemic was still kind of ravaging the social media and the news in general, and so a lot of people were still afraid to go out in public. A lot of public places were still enforcing the whole mask wearing policies, and so a lot of people just chose to stay at home, and it still managed to make roughly about well over $700 million. That's a pretty good number for a film that was just coming out of the pandemic era. Not to mention, at this time, comic book based films just were not making that type of money. But as I said, both studios are under immense pressure. I mean, you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if this particular film flops and then is followed by the Thunderbolts, there could be some real ramifications down the line. We already saw how big of an issue getting Jonathan Majors out of the storyline or the MCU was for the entire plot line going forward. There are some rumors that a lot of the reshoots that Captain America Brave New World had were based around Jonathan Majors. Again, this is not confirmed and it's not official, but there were some rumors that the reshoots potentially had to do with Jonathan Majors. So him getting fired cost the studio potentially hundreds of millions of dollars, because they probably had to go back and rewrite a bunch of films. There were a lot of projects that were canceled, or a lot of them were renamed. And so if these two films do tank for any unforeseen reason, then we could potentially see the entire MCU start to kind of hit the refresh button yet again. There might be some rewriting, there might be a lot of firing going on. They may have to rehire or hire some new writers, directors, things of that nature. I think if both of these films tank, we could potentially see the future of the cinematic universe, quote unquote, go back to the Disney Plus streaming service. Essentially, everything gets canceled, and anything that can be kind of encapsulated and broken down into a Disney Plus show, then that's what's going to happen. And then obviously, budgetary cuts are going to happen everywhere. The DC Cinematic Universe is in the same situation. James Gunn just took over. And as I said, I know that the Reeves universe is getting dragged along with the James Gunn universe. But let's be brutally honest, the first real James Gunn's project that was in the works was the Commando Creatures, which was critically well received. Everybody seems to really appreciate the series. But now this is kind of like what his entire career as the head of the DC Cinematic Universe is going to come down to. If the newest Superman film flops for any reason, I do believe that he could potentially be fired, or maybe a lot of his projects get cut. Same thing, maybe a lot of the stuff goes over to like the Max streaming service where it's just like low budget shows. But I will say, all in all, in my humble but brutal personal opinion, I don't necessarily feel that any of these films will bomb, whether it's the Thunderbolts, the Superman film, or the newest Captain America. Worst case scenario, they probably make a little bit over their budget. I've said it before and I'll say it again. James Gunn absolutely killed it with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and his Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. I mean, his entire cast from Guardians of the Galaxy was prepared to walk out on the project if James Gunn wasn't reinstated as a director for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That just also goes to show how much trust all of his actors have in him and his abilities to bring together a very cohesive and lovable storyline. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is a little bit cloudy at the moment. We don't know exactly what direction they're going in, but at least I feel like there is some cohesiveness when it comes down to the newest Captain America film. This feels kind of like a throwback film, like they're going back to the roots of Captain America. It's down to earth, it's gritty, there's a political element to it. It has to do with morals and ethics and different points of view, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see with this film. I think it's going to build up the intensity as the film goes on until we finally get to see Mackie versus Harrison Ford. And as I said, I have nothing but high expectations for both of these films. Not to say again that they're going to be financially incredibly successful, but I think critically they're both going to be received very well. And I believe both films will be like cornerstones or building blocks for the foreseeable future for both cinematic universes, whether it's James Gunn's DC universe or whether it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe that has been in absolute shambles for the last few years. I think both of them are going to kind of like set themselves straight, and we will finally see both universes at the top. We'll see the DC Cinematic Universe close to what it was when Christopher Nolan was releasing its trilogy, and then we'll see the cinematic universe for Marvel be closer to what it was during like Infinity War and Endgame. But as I said, it's just my personal humble opinion. I'm very curious to see how everybody else is reading this entire situation. Do you guys feel like both of these films will bomb, or one of these will bomb, or will just not be very well received by critics and fans alike? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoy this type of rambling content about Marvel comics or DC comics or just pop culture in general, make sure to stay tuned because we do upload pretty consistently, or I should say I want to start uploading more consistently. So thank you guys for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And make sure to buy your tickets for these movies because we have to show our support. We want to see more of these films within these universes, and I think that's like the first step to continue seeing more of this. So stay safe out there, buy your tickets. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.